Hey guys, let's get back to the topic of production and cost. So in the last few videos, we looked at the relationship between inputs and outputs. So you should be very clear on things like marginal product of labor, average product of labor, total product of labor, and how we can graph it based on some of the numbers between labor and output. So what we've assumed so far in all of those concepts is that we are going to keep every input fixed when we're running a business, and we are going to only let one variable change. So far, what we've done is we've let labor change. So we've said our baker is going to be hiring more people, and what will happen to the output or the extra output they produce depending on what you're looking at. But we've kept every other input, ingredients, capital like ovens and coffee makers, and the amount of space you have fixed. So that's what we're going to change in this video. Is we are going to say, if we let not only labor but all the other inputs change as well, how is that going to change the output? Right, so that's going to be what's new in this video. Here are the definitions for the three concepts that we've talked about. Total product, which is looking at the relationship between input and how much output they're producing. Average product is how much output is each person on average is producing. And marginal product, which is a tricky one, which is how much extra labor produces when you're hiring an extra person. So how much extra output is an extra person producing. But we've kept every input fixed except one. So here we are going to let all the inputs vary and see how that changes the output we are producing. So there are three returns to scale is what that refers to. It refers to how does output change when we change inputs. So there are three things here. One is constant returns to scale, which says if we increase input by a particular percent, if we increase all the inputs, then the output is going to increase by the same exact proportion. All right. So for example, what we mean by that is if we've looked at the function output as a function of x1, x2. In the previous few videos, we've kept x2 fixed, but now we're going to let everything change. So we're going to say if x1 increases by 10% and x2 increases by 10% as well, what is going to happen to output? And if we are subject to constant returns to scale, what that means is all inputs increase by 10%, output is going to increase by exactly 10% as well. So that's what we mean by constant returns to scale. All right. So if we increase labor by 10%, if we increase inputs by raw materials by 10%, and if we increase our space by 10%, output will increase by exactly 10%. That's what we mean by constant returns to scale. So one thing that I want you to think about throughout this video, which we will get back to in the next couple of videos, is what can you tell me about costs that we haven't talked much about of a business, and how returns to scale will affect the cost. What relationship there might be between returns to scale and the cost of a firm. So the second case is increasing returns to scale, and by this we mean if we increase our inputs, again all our inputs by 10%, the amount that the output is going to increase by is going to be a larger percent. So if we increase labor and raw materials and space by 10%, we are going to produce more than 10% output. All right, so that's an increasing scale to what is changing in terms of our inputs. And again, think about what might happen to your costs if a firm is experiencing increasing returns to scale. So this is a good thing, right? You're increasing your inputs by X%, and then your output is increasing by more than X%. So obviously those inputs are being more productive. So this is a good thing if you're running a business. And the last thing is what you don't want if you're running a business, which is decreasing returns to scale. And what we mean by that is that if you increase all your inputs by the same percent, your output increases by a smaller percent. So this is not, obviously there's something wrong going on with the way you're running a business if you are subject to decreasing returns to scale. And again, think about what might happen to your costs if your firm is subject to decreasing returns to scale. So that's all we're going to cover in today's video. The difference from the previous videos and this one is that here we looked at changing all inputs and seeing how output changes, and we looked at some theories of how that output might change. From the next video onwards, we're going to talk about costs. So again, we're going to stick to the same example. Think about your baker running a store. What kind of costs do they incur, and can you differentiate? Are certain costs different than other costs? So we'll address all of that in the next video, but make sure you're clear with this content before you get there.